We're going to be working with InDesign to create our standard size business card. And a standard size business card is 3.5 inches wide by 2 inches deep. So we're working in InDesign. InDesign is meant for text, so that's what we'll be working in today. And so once you launch InDesign, we'll get this window here, and there are some presets. So what will happen when you're working with InDesign is it'll open files that you've had open previously. And you can also see them in list mode or preview mode. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit create new document. And our destination is print. These are business cards. So we definitely want to choose print. You can see that we have other options available here. So I'm going to choose print. And in this list, you will see that we have some presets. So we have letter, legal. You'll also see that sometimes if you're working on the school computers, it'll come up as picas. And what you do want to do is you want to set it up in a measurement that you're familiar working with, whether it be imperial or metric. A lot of standard for printing when you're looking at Staples or Vistaprint or other places you're getting things printed, you'll notice that a lot of places are asking for inches. So I'm going to choose inches as a standard. And if you look through the list, we have lots of great presets here. And so these are also available. You can order these. Adobe now has an ordering program. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose this classic business card layout. And you can see a preview. We're not going to actually choose this because this is a preset. This is a template. This template has already been created, so it's not unique to you. But you can see how the layout is done here and different ways you can set up a business card. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our own preset so that we have a blank document that we're working with. So what we are going to do is, let's check all our presets here, is we're going to go with a blank business card. So a US business card. As you can see here, it goes back to picas. So if we choose inches, you can see that it's 3.5 inches wide by 2 inches deep, and that is industry standard. So let's hit create on that. And we get this lovely business card. And if I do a command minus, you can see that our business card has this massive margin of a 1/2 inch. The problem with that is we probably don't want to keep our information in this tiny little pink box on this card. So if I zoom out and set this up so it's actual size, you can see that at actual size, there really isn't a lot of room here. So what we need to do is change our margins. The reason why this margin is here is because we want to keep the important information in here. It's called live or safe area. And why is it called safe area? Well, it's because if we go too far outside and we get too close to the edge, we're in danger of our information being cut off or just looking too cramped to the edge of the page. And what we want to do is create this nice white visual frame around our text, around our content. But this particular frame is a little bit too small. So where do we change our margins? You can often set it up when you're setting up your new document. If we did a new document and we typed in our measurements and our margins and everything, we could do that. We used a preset. So in order to change a margin, if you hadn't set it up to begin with, you go under the layout menu to margins and columns. And this allows you to change some of the dimensions here. So this margin is set for a full 1/2 inch, which is far too big for this particular card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to 0.25 inches. Now notice there's a little lock, a link here, which means if I click on the next one, well, it knew to set up all my margins at the same width. If you unchecked this setting, then you could put individual numbers in here. It's rare that you need to do that unless we're working a magazine or book layout where we need an extra margin on the inside of the page where the page sits inside a spine. Also, this is also where you can change the number of columns you want for your template as well as the gutter width, so the space between your columns. So now that we've reset our margins, we are now set to type in the information that we need for our business card. So with the type tool in the toolbox, the fifth tool down, the way you create text in InDesign is you don't click and start typing like we do in Illustrator and Photoshop. What we do here is we click and drag a box, and what we're doing is we're clicking and dragging a text box that fills that margin area. And so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to type in your name, your title, and make sure your spelling is correct, and I'll show you where to fix that as well, or to check that. We need the location, so I'm at Conestoga College and 299 Dune Valley Drive. Now, for your own business card, for the sake of the assignment, you can put all this information in here as well, the same address and location, but please put in your own information, and you can put marketing student or marketing grad 2019, 2018, depending on when you will be graduating. So that's also doable here. And then you need 2 points of contact. So you should always have a web address, or sorry, an email address, and you should always have a contact number. And you can also use, again, for the sake of this particular assignment, if you're not going to be using this for real, because by all means, why not print these cards off so you have something to hand out when you're talking to people or networking or going to job fairs. But you can use this number for the purpose of this assignment. So now we have our information set up, and this could work. You could print this out and hand this out, but what we're going to do is we're going to work with the design principles. And so we have contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. The first principle that we're going to be working with is proximity, and proximity is packaging like information together. So how do you package information together? Well, you can put that information in a box. You can put that information in a list. You can separate your information with space, which is exactly what we're going to do now. So we have 3 packages of information here. We have name and title. That's one package. So after instructor, I'm going to add a space by hitting the enter key or return key on a PC. Conestoga College, 299 Dew Valley Drive, that is the location and address. I could put the word Kitchener after here as well, and I could even put a postal code. And then last but not least, now that I've added space, we have my email address, but now I've lost my phone number. So what's happened here is, and you can see this plus sign over here in the right hand corner. If I click on my black arrow, you can now see, and the black arrow is the selection tool, you can now see that it puts a bounding box around my text. And you can see that there's an overset alert, it's called. When you hover over that red plus sign, it usually gives you a little alert, and it says overset alert. So if you exported this as a PDF to send to a printer, it's going to say, hey, it's going to give you a warning. You have overset text, which means there's just text missing in the box. So what we do with our black arrow or our selection tool is we hover over the bottom anchor point until you see the double-ended arrow, which means we can now select that anchor point, click and drag, and pull that down to reveal more text. Once all the text is in preview, you can see that that red plus sign disappears. Now here's a trick also. If I add a return after my phone number and hit the black arrow, and I just tighten that up a little bit. Oh, of course it's not working at this particular second, so let's see what happens. So just a simple return. I've done that again, sorry. So let's take a look at that. So we have our blue bounding box. I'm going back to the text tool, and I'm going to click after the 0 in my phone number, and you can see I have no overset text. But as soon as I click even a simple enter or return, there it is, a plus sign. So it's saying I have overset text even though it's a simple return. So I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to hit delete, and that takes care of my overset box. So now we've created 3 packages of information that belongs together. Does my name go with my phone number and my Conestoga location go with my email address? No, they have to be related in information here. So name, title, location, address, contact information. So that's how we set up our proximity. Using our proximity principle is making sure that we package our information together, and we know they're packages because they're now separated with space. So I visually communicated that there are 3 packages of information here by adding space in between. Now we're going to use the alignment principle. We could leave this aligned left like it is, and then this is called ragged right. So align left, ragged right. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my text tool. I'm going to select all this text. One way to select text is you could just click and drag and select all your text in here, or you could simply click anywhere inside the text box till you see the flashing cursor and do Control A on a PC or Command A on a Mac. And now I've selected all my text in one simple quick key combination. So Control or Command A. Across the top of my screen here, I have these great tools here, these alignment tools. Now, InDesign is meant for text. So when we're working in InDesign, you can see we have all sorts of text options in this menu bar across the top. You'll notice in Illustrator, you have fewer, and in Photoshop, even fewer, because Photoshop's not meant for text. InDesign, however, is meant for multiple page documents and right up to 200-page books. So it's meant to have all of these fantastic options that we can use to work with text. So I'm going to use these alignment tools on the upper right of my menu bar, and I'm going to center that text. So now we've used proximity. We have packages of information visually separated with white space. We've now got this nice alignment where our information is centered in the middle. And now what we need to do is we need to create contrast. So we've used 2 principles so far. With my text tool, I'm going to highlight my name because I need to give that precedence. I mean, what is the most important part of a business card? Well, it's your name. So how do we create contrast with text? Well, we have several ways we can do that. We can take a look at the top of our screen, and first and foremost, we can change the font. There's definitely a visual contrast with this font. We can change the style. However, this particular style only comes in regular. If I went back to another font, this one's Times New Roman, underneath this font, if I click on the word regular, you can see that I have other styles I can choose from. So another way I can create contrast is by simply choosing a bold font. But there are other things we can do as well. Not only can we change the font and change the style, I'm going to go back to lemon milk. I'm going to change the size. So right here where we see 12, we can use presets on the right here. Or we can choose these little arrows and go up 1 or down 1 with each click. And we can go, this one is already all caps, so we have options here that we can do. And if we move over to the right, see this letter T here with that's filled with black, we can even change the color. So with my black arrow, my selection tool, I'm going to click here and click anywhere to deselect this box to see where I'm at. So one thing that happened once again is now that I've changed the size and color of this text, so it now gives visual precedence to my name over all the other text on the page. So I've created visual contrast with the rest of the text. You can see again I have this plus sign, this red plus sign saying, okay, click on your text box and hover over that bottom anchor point, and let's expand that again to reveal all the text. So you can expand your box as much as you like. By the way, these are here for your preview only. This pink line there is for your preview only. None of these print. So they're just there for your preview so that you can keep things in alignment and keep things looking nice, neat, and tidy. So now that I've done Carolyn McLeod and I've given that precedence and I've made it a bit bigger, I'm actually going to use my text tool and highlight that and make it a little bit bigger. And a quick key combination I can use instead of using this text option at the top is I can use Control Shift greater than, which is above your period on your keyboard. And on a Mac, the only difference is you use the Command key instead of the Control key. And I can go in the opposite direction as well. So Command or Control on a PC, Shift greater than above the period, less than above the comma. So that is how you can also enlarge text, making it a lot easier and quicker. So the more quick key combinations you use, the more efficient you can be working in the program. So definitely I've given good contrast to my name here. A different font, it's bolder, and it's in color. But now what else do I want people to do? Well, I'm going to highlight my phone number because my preference of contact would be for people to call me, not to email me. So how do I create a visual communication between my name and this phone number so that they're connected visually even though they're separated by space? Well, I can give it the same font and the same color. I've now given it a visual connection, my name and my phone number. So basically I've created what's called a call to action. What do I want people to do? Well, here's my name and my phone number is treated in the same way with color and font, meaning, hey, I bet you that's what she wants me to do. She'd prefer I call her instead of emailing her because she created contrast here, a visual contrast to communicate to me that that's her preference. Okay, so graphic designers are visual communicators, and what we're trying to do is visually communicate our ideas. And how we do that is through color, shape, position, all sorts of things, but we want to visually communicate those ideas. And there's using the design principles, contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity, we can do that here. Now, last but not least, what do I want to do here is I want to move this information inside this margin. So how am I going to do that? Well, if I highlight the space in between each of these packages of information, now I'm going to look at the top of my page and you can see that it says it's size 12, but what I'm looking at underneath here is actually the space between the lines, and this is called leading. And leading allows us to change the amount of space between our lines. So I'm actually going to use the bottom arrow here under leading, and I'm just going to decrease that to 8. And because I need to use the repetition principle as well, this space should be equal to this space if I'm going to keep in line with all my principles so that I have a more professional looking design. And I'm going to also change that leading to 8. And now we have visually created the even spacing between our packages of information. If I want, I can also maybe add, this could be bold as well. So you can see that Minion Pro is the font that is the default to this program. And you can see that Times New Roman only had 4 styles. This Lemon Milk only had 1, but Minion Pro has several more that are available. So it's completely up to the font of what's going to be available. And so that's something that you have to take note of whenever you're choosing fonts. How many styles are available and how many are you going to be able to use? So when you're designing, you have to always consciously think of your fonts. How many styles are available? Do you need more? Then it might be worth investigating other fonts. So now that I have this on here, you can see that the phone number isn't quite to the bottom of the line here. So what I can do is I can double click this space underneath in between my package, and I'm just going to increase that now to 10. making sure, using my repetition principle, that I do the same in the other space so that I'm consistent with my spacing. There we go. Then choose my black arrow. And I still have a little bit more space here. I want it perfectly even because the devil's in the details, as they say. And with my arrow keys on the right-hand side of my keyboard, I can use the down arrow key and nudge that down a little bit to evenly space the information in between. So you can literally nudge your information around the page. So now that I have created this business card, I have used all the design principles. First, I have this nice visual frame created by my margins, my 0.25-inch margin. So all my information is nicely contained inside this margin, this safe or live area box. I have used the contrast principle in the text to create a visual priority to my name. I've used repetition in space here between the packages of information and the top and the bottom of the card here. I've used alignment by aligning all my text exactly the same way. So this is completely centered. And I've also used proximity by using packages of information here. So I put like information together and it's visually separated by space. So I visually communicated that these two things go together, but these don't because it is separated by space. And that is how you create your business card. Last but not least, we need to save it. So File, Save As. We always save what's called a working file. So this is my business card. And a working file is an InDesign document. And the reason why we save one of these is so that it can be edited later. If you save a PDF or JPEG or any other file type, you cannot edit it further. It's not editable anymore. So you always save a working file so you can go back to make changes. And then for a printer, this is a file type you would save. And get used to this because this is how you export for print to save final versions of your files. So File, Export. Again, it's called Business Card. Where do you want to save it? It looks like I have to clean up my desk. But our destination here at the bottom is print. So we are choosing PDF print because that is the destination of our card. When we hit save, you'll see we get this window that comes up here. And usually the preset that you'll see is called high quality print. This is not adequate for a PDF because it won't embed our images or our fonts. So I might have Lemon Milk, the font, on my computer, but you don't have it on yours. So if I export a PDF and only save it as high quality print, it's not going to embed my font. I send you my file and guess what? You can't preview my font. So we must save this at the very least a PDF X1A, which is industry standard. Depending on your printer, you might find that your printer might have upgraded to X4. But industry standard PDF X1A works fine for our purposes here. We don't have to worry about any other settings for this particular file. As long as we have this, we've embedded it. So it's saying, hey, but you might lose some editing capabilities. That's okay. You already saved a working file. And this is one that we're sending to the printer. If we do need to make changes, we would make it in our working file and we would re-export a new PDF for our printer. Hit export and you're done. There's your card. And this is what it looks like. So when you're finished creating this card, you can use this card in your reference guide under any one of those design principles. And it's also a great example of contrast in text in the typography section. And please upload to the business card under contents, under assignments. Thank you.